Chris Heaton-Harris.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I'd like to congratulate my honourable friend, the member for North East Bedfordshire, on securing this debate on the East-West Rail route consultation and the role played by the proposed railway within his constituency. I welcome also his support for East-West Rail as a concept at the very least. And I know this is shared by the vast majority of his constituents because, as he knows, he has instigated meetings where I've met a number of parishes and parish council leaders, etc., in his constituency, where the concept of the railway is very much welcomed. But they do have legitimate questions to ask, and I hope I can answer some today. I've listened carefully to his representations about the impact of East-West Rail on his constituency and his concerns about this being a fair consultation, and I will try to answer many of them now. As he will know, a new railway line between Bedford and Cambridge is required to deliver the full East-West Rail scheme between Oxford and Cambridge. In this vein, East-West Rail Company held a consultation on route options. Route options, as my honourable friend described, A to E. We like Natalie described route options in the rail industry, between the 28th of January and the 11th of March 2019. The outcome of this consultation saw Route E being selected as the preferred route option by East West Rail. As my honourable friend will remember, this was announced in January 2020. Conclusions for Route E were reached using a number of assessment factors users to rail. The higher transport user benefits arise due to Route E serving the most households, both within the catchment area around Bedford Midland Station and the growing population in Cambourne. My honourable friend is aware that there's been another recent, he mentioned it, non-statutory consultation, which included 5 route alignment options for the Bedford-Cambridge section of East-West Rail, as well as the concepts for train service provision and stations between Bletchley and Bedford. East-West Rail Company is currently analysing the responses, and a preferred route alignment option based on the consultation feedback, application of the assessment factors and ongoing design work will be announced in due course. My honourable friend will also be aware that both consultations were non-statutory consultations and so were not a legal requirement for the project to continue. Indeed, they were East-West Rail trying to ensure they were listening to the voices of people along proposed routes. However, East-West Rail Company genuinely does want to hear from people affected and use their views to shape the design of the railway. It is, and as I hope my honourable friend understands, the new chairman of East-West Rail Company is determined to listen to the views of people along that route. There are no fixed rules about a non-statutory consultation's duration, but the East-West Rail Company decided to run the consultation for a period of 10 weeks. This was to provide opportunities to allow for virtual question and answer sessions, given the lack of in-person meetings that would be available because of the pandemic, and in trying to ensure people had enough time to respond in a meaningful way to it. My department is content that both consultations met open and fair consultation standards. A range of promotional activity took place in both consultations, including, as my honourable friend said, the sending of postcards to more than 120,000 households and businesses in the consultation zone for the first consultation. This number increased to 270,000 for the recent consultation to ensure the virtual nature of the consultation did not mean that people missed out the chance of taking part. Advertisements were placed in key local publications. Social media and local print were also utilised. Public consultation has been and continues to be a crucial part of the development of the East-West Rail project, which is why the East-West Rail Company has made great efforts to speak with as many local people as possible from an early stage, and whilst I'm Minister, will continue in this spirit as the project is progressed. Indeed, in my time as the sponsor Minister for this project, I've tried to sit in on as many of these meetings as I can to see exactly what is going on and how people's views are being reflected. My honourable friend wants to give way first, and I will come to the honourable gentleman.
Madam Deputy Speaker,
The Minister is absolutely right. He really has been on the front foot engaging with people and also with me directly as well. But will he recognise there is a difference between speaking to and listening? And one of the concerns that my constituents have is that some of the options that could really be listening to their concerns.
Yeah, I completely get what my honourable friend has said, which is why I've tried my best, and I think I've succeeded in making sure that East West Rail actually is listening to people across the route. And I hope that he will see that reflected in what comes out of this current consultation as we move forward. Now, I think the honourable gentleman also wanted me to give way.
For giving me way, is very kind. Just two points very briefly. One is that I've been told there is no chance of rerunning this consultation. Is there any realistic chance of rerun this consultation? Because some people believe that it wasn't run properly. And secondly, will it support four-track option rather than six-track option? And four-track option will avoid demolition of houses in my constituency.
I thank the honourable gentleman for his points. I also would like him, if you wouldn't mind, taking a little question from me. But I believe he does support East West Rail as well, and so it's a question of actually making sure that his constituents and my honourable friend's constituents are listened to properly. So those that will be affected by construction of this new railway or elements of it. Do feel that their voices have been listened to, that there's been done, that can possibly be done to address these concerns. I do hear the point that he's mentioned about the four-tracking. I'm no engineer, so I'm not going to promise something that I cannot deliver, nor am I going to promise something that I don't I do understand, but I don't know where it is in the planning stages of East West Rail. But I will happily go away and talk to East West Rail about this, because I know this is something that they would be considering as an option moving forward, or at least I'm quite sure, and I'm very happy to give way to the honourable gentleman again.
I'm encouraged that he wishes to enlist me in support for East West Rail. That's the concept, right? But the Minister knows, Madam Minister, sort of what motivates me, and that's, do the numbers add up? Does the thing add up logically? And there are the two fundamental concerns that I have, which he has not addressed, and maybe he will. Why is it right to go into a consultation with a clear set of numbers that go at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, close the consultation, and then present, ta-da, we've changed all the numbers around, and now we're going to go with the option that originally went in being the lowest cost, and now comes out being, the highest cost, now comes out being the best option. That doesn't look right, isn't right, and the Minister knows that if you build on shaky foundations like that, you erode trust at every further step. So will he please look at that issue again and enable East West Rail to try and help close that trust deficit on that particular issue?
I will always do everything I possibly can to help my honourable friend and his constituents and East West Rail close that deficit gap on trust, as he says, because I actually do believe there is a route through here, not a physical route, but a way of West Rail close that deficit gap on trust, as he says, because I actually do believe there is a route through here, not a physical route, but a way of, and on budget, because there have been huge problems in the past with big rail infrastructure projects that have run over time, and people's lives have been blighted for much, much longer than they ever should have been because of the incapacity to deliver that said rail project on time. This isn't going to happen on East West Rail, and I will do whatever I can to allay my honourable friend, his constituents' concerns, and I will happily talk to him separately and again about how he believes I am able to assist in doing that. But I'm really happy to assist, because public consultation has been and continues to be a crucial part of the development of this project, which is why the company's made all those efforts to speak to so many people. So my honourable friend may rightly be concerned about the impact. In fact, both my honourable friend and the honourable gentleman were rightly concerned about the impact the project will have on constituents' homes. It is entirely understood that the proposals will affect people's homes, businesses and farms in my honourable friend's constituency. East West Rail Company aims to minimise the negative impact on people's land and property and mitigate any unavoidable impacts. The East West Railway Company's recent consultation included proposals for an initial compensation scheme for those affected. Now, my honourable friend asked about whether I could jog the elbow of the East West Rail Company so they can have a meeting on the true costs, because my honourable friend is a good businessman, a good politician, a good representative of his constituents. But he also knows this is taxpayers' money that's funding this, and I know he wants to get the best value he can possibly get, as I do. And so I shall not just nudge the elbow of East West Railway. I will ensure that meeting happens in short order, and that all the documents that he requires before it are made available to him, so he can do the preparation work that he would like to do his job properly beforehand. I completely get the point he made about the environmental concerns. Now, I'm not one to go to number 10 to ask them to do something. I believe that is a tad above my pay grade. But I have been watching and continue to listen to my honourable friend about, is there evidence that quality environmental assessments have been made in the East West Rail consultation? An appraisal was undertaken to assess the comparative environmental sustainability of the route options as part of the process for determining a preferred route option, as described in the preferred route option report. This assessment concluded that the routes via Camborne, routes B and E, were broadly comparable and have the fewest problematic areas with potential direct impacts on irreplaceable or sensitive features and the lowest likely mitigation effort. Now, East West Railway Company will continue to assess the potential environmental effects as part of the route alignment development work. An environmental impact assessment will be undertaken and an environmental statement submitted when East West Rail Company submits its development consent order application to the Planning Inspectorate. So it will be going by the letter and in the spirit of the rules and the law. He asked me about Bedford Borough Council's representations and Bedford Mayor's secret plan. I have no idea if the Bedford Mayor has a secret plan, but I'm quite sure that I truly believe that he would not have had undue influence over any of the plans of East West Rail. But I will happily go away again, because I've asked this question previously, but I will happily go away again and ask this question of East West Rail to see if there's anything that they can bring to me that can finally either put to one side what my honourable friend says, and so we can dismiss it, or if there is something in it, we can have it out in the open so everybody can see it, and then I think it will probably be a matter for local politics. But I do not believe that will be the case, because I do not believe there will be anything to see. But he did ask about the significance of local authority contributions to the consultation process. And I will come back to this point again and again and again. We want everybody and anybody who's interested and affected by the proposed route alignment and the development of this railway to be involved in the design of this railway, to ensure that we get this process completely right. So I do believe there would have been significant conversations with the local authorities along the route and the East West Rail Company. Less so with my department, to be quite honest, because it's not necessarily the brief that we hold. But as my honourable friend knows, there will be many further opportunities for his constituents to raise issues for consideration, including a statutory consultation. In the meantime, anyone who wishes to make representations should obviously contact the East West Rail Company to have their voices heard. So with that, Madam Deputy Speaker, I hope I've answered a number of the points that my honourable friend has raised. I am determined that we are, and East West Rail is as open and as transparent as it can possibly be with the people, with him, other members of Parliament in interested areas, and people affected, potentially affected along the individual routes. I hope I have demonstrated by action, not just word, that I truly believe that that East West Rail needs to do this, and I continue and will continue to turn up at meetings with his parish councillors and others to ensure this is the case. But there will be further opportunities to influence the decisions that will have an effect, but hopefully a very positive one, on the lives of his constituents going forward.